Chris followed his instructions, and Hong fell to his knee. "Now," he said from the floor, "this is what you have done. First, if you have kicked me really hard, you have damaged my knee, perhaps so badly that I can't walk on it again without surgery. Second, because you have buckled the joint and made me fall, I am on one knee and vulnerable to further attack." "Gotcha," Chris said. When Chris got home, there was another unstamped letter in the mailbox. "Look at this," Chris said, handing Danny Devere the 2 letters. "Can you believe it?" Danny was brushing Chris's thick brunette hair, shaping it around her shoulders. He put down his hairdryer and picked up a letter. "Well, sweets," he said, "looks like you got yourself a fella." "Not that one," Chris said. "Read the second one." Danny read the second letter and quoted, "You're certainly athletic. I'd hate to come up against you in a dark alley." What the hell does that mean? "I just came back from Graham Hong's house. He's training me for the new film." Danny hooted. "God, I'd have given anything to see that." "The point is, Danny, whoever wrote this letter saw it. The son of a bitch followed me this morning." Danny took her head in his hands and pointed it at the mirror. "Look at me," he said. "Don't do this to yourself. You're starting a new movie next Monday, and you can't get yourself all tensed up about something that you're probably imagining." Chris stood up and glanced at her hair in the mirror. "Enough of this. I've got to meet the security system guy at the new house in half an hour, and with traffic, I'll be lucky to make it." "Boy, is that guy going to do a job on you today," Danny said. "You'll buy the biggest alarm system in the world. You won't be able to get into your own house." "Oh, shut up," she said, grabbing his hand. "Come on, I'll walk with you to your car." She led him out of the house to the little red Miata parked in her drive, then kissed him on the cheek. "Dinner this weekend?" "I got a hot new fella to see on Saturday," he said. "How about Sunday?" "You're on. I'll take you out to Malibu and show you how the house is coming. Then we'll have dinner at La Scala." "Sounds good." "See you Sunday," she called over her shoulder. She got into the Mercedes and headed for the freeway. She drove fast, her new hairdo blowing in the wind. At 22, Chris had headed for New York, straight out of the University of Georgia, a B.A. with a double major in dance and drama tucked in her trunk. She got her first job a week later in an off-Broadway musical, and she had hardly ever been out of work since. There had been a 2-year marriage to an actor, Brad Donner, and together they had scraped up a down payment on the Bel Air house. When the marriage failed, he did the gentlemanly thing and moved out, but she was uncomfortable living in the house, and she looked forward to selling it when her own house was finished and splitting what should be a considerable profit with Brad. Chris was not a bankable movie star. Not yet, anyway. But she'd played featured parts in films with Gene Hackman, Dustin Hoffman, and Alec Baldwin, and 2 leads opposite slightly lesser stars. Her price was $500,000 now, and a hot starring role would push it over the $1 million mark. She was 31, too old to be the kind of phenomenon Julia Roberts was, but she had a solid track record, and she was consistently considered for some of the best work in town. The new house was at Big Rock, not necessarily the most fashionable part of Malibu, but the beach was great, and the lot was good. As she approached Big Rock, she could see the framing timbers of the roof above the construction fence. When the house was near completion, she would build a wall that would separate her from the Pacific Coast Highway traffic, and from adoring nuts like her new letter writer. As she parked, a van pulled up behind her, and a young man got out. "Miss Calloway," he said, "I'm Mel Parker, Keyhole Security." "How do you do, Mel?" She shook his hand. He was nice-looking, she thought. Blonde, wiry, and athletic-looking. He had a scarred upper lip and hooded eyes, but the effect was not unattractive. "I'm a real big fan of yours," Mel said. "Seen everything you've done, and I can't wait for the next one." "Thank you, Mel. I appreciate that." He blushed. "Shall we take a walk around your place and see what you need in the way of a security system?" "Sure." The house was framed, and she could see the shape that she had dreamed about. Walk through the rooms and feel their size, pick her way among the timbers, out onto what would be the deck, and gaze at the blue Pacific. As she and Mel entered, another young man, a stranger, approached. He was wearing work clothes and carrying a clipboard. He stuck out his hand. "Chris, I'm Bud Carson. I'm your framing contractor." "Hi," she said, not put off by the use of her first name. The whole world seemed to have that privilege these days. Her general contractor, Mike Moskowitz, had introduced her to most of the subcontractors, but not to this one, who looked awfully young to be the boss of the framers. He also had an odd cast in his eyes, which made it difficult to tell where he was looking when he spoke. "How do you like the way the place is shaping up?" he asked. "I'm thrilled. It's beginning to look the way I've imagined it would." "Framing's the best part," Bud said. "That's when a project starts to be a house. We'll have the house clad in another 10 days and the roof on a week after that." "Great. You keep up the good work here. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got to talk with this gentleman about the alarm system." By the way," Carson said, "I don't have any paper with me right now, but some other time when you're out here, do you think you could give me your autograph?" "Sure, Bud, I'd be glad to." She turned to go. "And can I get somebody to take your picture with me?" This was the part of her life that drove her nuts. She tried to keep her voice pleasant. "If I have time. Now you're going to have to excuse me." She turned and walked away. "Chris!" he called after her. She ignored him and kept going. She spent an hour walking around the house with Mel, pointing out windows, deciding whether to have window or screen alarms, placing the keypads that would allow her to enter an entry code or push the panic button. When she got back to the house, there was another letter in her mailbox. That made 3 in one day. "I can't seem to stop thinking about you," the last line read. On Friday morning, Chris attended the first reading of the final script of her new film, Forsaken, her first Western. This was not the hot role she was looking for, but she was playing opposite Jason Quinn, a rising young actor, and the word was this movie would make him a big star. Once again, she was riding on somebody else's coattails, but though Quinn's role would dominate the film, she had 4 very good scenes, including a fight scene. When they finished, Jason Quinn and the director, Brent Williams, took her aside, which made her nervous. Like any actor, Chris could be rattled by criticism, and she knew that if these 2 men didn't like what she was doing, she could be replaced on short notice. "Chris," Brent began, "I want to tell you that this was the best first reading of a script that I have ever attended, and Jason and I think you are going to be brilliant in this film." Chris had learned, from experience, not to get too excited about promises in Hollywood, but this time she couldn't help herself. Her heart was thumping with joy. On Sunday night, Danny Devere showed up on time. Danny, Chris reflected, was always on time. It was reassuring to have someone in her life who was entirely predictable. Danny did her hair every day when she was working and twice a week when she wasn't. So, along with Melanie, her secretary, he was a constant in her life, a fount of common sense and good judgment. She told him about the first reading and what had happened afterward. "Sweets," Danny said, "I'm 40, and I've been in this town since I was 22, so I know what I'm talking about. You are headed for the big time, and nobody can stop you." They dined at La Scala and talked the way old friends do. Chris hadn't been dating since the divorce, and she enjoyed the lack of complication in her friendship with Danny. She trusted him completely. Later, they drove back through Malibu to Big Rock, named for the geological formation that loomed over the highway. Chris parked at the gate and worked the combination lock that secured it. Then they stepped past the fence and arrived at the front door. "Wow," Danny said reverently. "It's real, isn't it?" "It's getting that way." Chris led him down the hallway that ran straight through the house, then to the right and into the living room, taking care not to trip over debris. She led him back to the wide doorway. "There'll be double doors here, and this is my bedroom. The big opening there will be French doors leading out to the deck. Come on, you've got to see the view." Chris led the way along a catwalk of planks. "Be careful there!" Danny shouted. "It's a long way down, and there are rocks at the bottom." "Don't worry, I'm a regular tightrope walker," Chris called back. She pointed at the moon over the ocean. "Isn't that a gorgeous sight?" She jumped up and down on the plank, steadying herself against a 2x4. "Stop that! You're scaring me!" Danny called. Chris gave one last